Hey y'all, and good now, whenever and wherever this finds you. Today, I feel affirmed by one Dennis Kucinich. Dennis Kucinich has been a political notable for many, many years. He was the mayor of Cleveland, and then he became a representative, and he ran for president. Today, I saw him on Aaron Maté. It's called Pushback, and I encourage you to go look at the whole video. But I picked out some parts that affirm what I've been saying about not looking at the issues before us as far as what's being fed to us by the media.
I don't think members of Congress, whatever caucus they're in, are immune from the larger messaging that's happening in our media culture.
But to look at what kind of nation do we want to be on the other side of this transition that we're in?
There's a larger question here, beyond where we're going with this war. What now is America's role in the world? What is the appropriate role for the United States in the world? Is it to be the policeman of the world? Is it to stand astride the events of our time like a colossus, or worse than that, a cyclops who swings wildly and occasionally hits a mark that creates damage to oneself? See, this is the discussion we need to have. This goes way beyond discussions of war and peace. It's about who we are as a nation, where do we see ourselves in the world community, and what can we do to start to find ways of demonstrating the understanding that the world is indeed interdependent, it is interconnected, and if we shut ourselves off as a nation from the rest of the world community, namely Russia, China, Brazil, India, South Africa, there's affiliations being created right now which actually, are not only against America's interests, but juxtaposed with our policies right now. We're isolating ourselves from an emerging new world, and it's old thinking. We have to realize the world's changing, and why should America be stuck with 19th century thinking in the 21st century?
This affirms what I've been thinking and saying, that the world is changing and that we need to move from the empire stage where we're the hegemony and we're dominating the world through military and economic violence to a new cooperative world.
We need to take a totally different direction in the world, and we really need to pay attention to that biblical injunction about blessed are the peacemakers. We have an obligation to the world community to go with these rhythms of change, and not to try to continue to insist on a unipolar world with an American imperium. It doesn't work anymore. We're past that stage. Have we caught, rather, the advancing tide of geopolitical movement, which is away from a unipolar moment, which is more towards cooperation and a multipolar type world where there's not one center of power? We can no longer insist that it's our way or the highway. It's very dangerous, and it's very expensive.
He comes back to what we need to do to make this transition that we're all talking about and involved in. And he also goes on to say one of the things that I've been saying from the very beginning, from 1980, rock and roll parties, you change the world by changing yourself. And he has a good explanation of that somewhere in here. So here we go.
The first thing that we need to do is to quit describing a stand for peace as anti-war, because that semantic construction carries with it the kind of polarity that we're seeking to avoid. Because war really is an expression of polarized thinking, us versus them, whoever they are. we really need, as individuals and collectively, to begin to see the world as one, to see the world as interconnected and interdependent. And our goals should be human unity, not homogenized, not that we're seeing the world merge into one econotechnic system, to respect all cultures and the diversity of cultures.
So there you have it. We need to move away from this idea of struggling and war and competition and world dominance to one of peace, prosperity, and generosity to our fellow nations in this world, and become one of the many nations and join in a collective cooperation of all nations. So you may say I'm a dreamer, but according to this, I'm not the only one. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you down the road.